By the way, I'm only behind you, Mike, by 1. When you start out 7-1.
Because I had nobody play yesterday. Everybody's playing today for me in fantasy.
I had nobody play.
You don't have someone playing.
I had nobody playing yesterday. The only person I had playing yesterday was Marc-Andre Fleury.
And that wasn't a bad guy.
And that's why you got 3 points.
That wasn't a bad guy to
Fleury playing.
I tell you, that's a great equalizer for an expansion team, is have a franchise goaltender who can play like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Of course, that whole game turned when Bishop went out.
Yeah, it did. If Bishop didn't get hurt, he
probably 1-0.
Oh yeah. They would have won that game.
All right, we are going live on this on this Facebook.
Fine, be that way.
Boom, we are live on WBGR Facebook Live.
All right, you guys ready to go?
Yep.
Bang, let's do it. God, I love these chairs. Are awesome.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. You smell that, Bernie?
Yes, indeed.
That is fresh ice that has been cut by skates. And history was made yesterday, and a shellacking was done the other night, and some exciting hockey took over Wednesday night to open up the NHL season. Let's start with Wednesday, banner raising night.
Bath towel raising night.
The Pittsburgh Penguins lose in overtime to the St. Louis Blues, which is a great start. But then also factor in 2 hat tricks that night. One for Connor McDavid, and one for Wayne Simmons. And then the very next night, one for Alex Ovechkin, and one for Brandon Saad. The first time ever in NHL history. The first 2 nights, you had 4 hat tricks.
First time in 100 years that 4 hat tricks in season opening games. The only other time was the first year of the National Hockey League in 1917, when 2 of those 4 games were actually 5-goal games. There's 2 5-goal, a 4-goal, and a 3-goal game in 1917, when there was only 4 teams. I think all 4 teams had one of those hat tricks, which was pretty astonishing stuff. Now we have 31 teams. Thank you, Vegas Golden Knights. And we have a lot of action and a lot of pucks denting the twine. Wednesday night, Connor McDavid could have had 6 goals. Thursday night, Alex Ovechkin could have had 5 goals. There is a lot of ice to be had. Now, if we can continue calling the game the way they want to call it now, by cutting down the hooks and the slashes, guys like Connor McDavid, guys like Sidney Crosby, guys
that was
like
a nice slash to
Patrick
the back
Kane,
of the legs that Crosby did to Pietrangelo in the first game of the
guys
season.
like Patrick Kane, guys like Alex Ovechkin and Evgeny Kuznetsov are going to have a field day making plays, and that's what you want in the regular season. You want eyes on the product, goals hitting the back of the net. No disrespect to the great goaltending efforts, because there are plenty of great saves by Devin Dubnyk, by Braden Holtby, Marc-Andre Fleury playing out of his mind. And they hit the nail on the head last night on NHL Tonight, saying what we said, that without Marc-Andre Fleury, Pittsburgh Penguins are not repeat Stanley Cup champions, because he was the backbone of that first 2 rounds last year in the spring. But good night in Canada, Ontario, Canada, on Thursday night, when our Washington Capitals hit the ice for the first time, and it was kind of ironic that the two of the teams that were preeminent in Brian Murray's career got together on opening night to pay tribute to the man that we lost this summer.
Yeah, and not only that, but all the other stuff that has also gone on. Good morning, Chris. You got a few minutes to watch us before Blade Runner. That thanks for letting us know that you're not going to be watching us because of Blade Runner. Starting it off with Brian Murray, the fact that, not just the Ottawa Senators who's going to be wearing this decal on their helmet all season for Brian Murray, but the fact that the Washington Capitals wore the decal that night as well spoke a lot. And actually that would be something really nice to see the Washington Capitals keep on their helmet all season as a tribute to Brian Murray, who was an integral part of the Washington Capitals. He was the first coach to get him into the playoffs. So definitely a huge integral part for the Capitals there.
Yes, indeed. And also still, I think, the franchise leader in wins by a head coach for now. So definitely, they made the playoffs in every year that he coached a full season with the Capitals. And definitely the Murray name between him and his brother Terry, between Terry both playing and coaching, and Brian coaching, general managing, scouting, being the president of the Ottawa Senators, just speaks volumes for what they meant to the game of hockey. So I guess we're going to dive into some Caps first. Like you said, we a nice trip up to the land up north. The first time in quite some time they opened up north. I think it was over a decade since they
first
last played.
Time since 1997-98 when they opened up in Toronto.
97, 98, you say, huh?
Yeah.
I'm just that year had something else magical happen that year. I don't know.
Well, luckily one thing didn't happen. One thing didn't happen was in 1997. Okay, I noticed because I did the research on this. 1997-98, the first game of the season was in fact in Toronto.
Yep.
Bill Ranford was actually going into that season as the number one goalie for the Washington Capitals. A first period injury then brought in Olaf Kolzig. Olaf Kolzig ran away with it. And that is,
It changed everything because when they made that trade with the Bruins that previous March, it was all intentions that Bill Ranford was going to be the number one goaltender and let Ole Kolzig have another year or two to develop and be ready to take those reins and see if they had a kick at the can for the cup. And sure enough, they did, and it was with Ole Kolzig. But getting back to Thursday night, it didn't start off all that great, but it ended up glorious.
Well, when you look at it, and you saw that in a lot of other games as well. A lot of teams, especially for the Caps this season, the last few seasons, you've always seen the Capitals, the last 2 to 3 preseason games, go out with their full roster in the preseason. So by the time they actually get into that first game, they're going full force right off the bat. This season, a little different. This was the very first game with their actual full lineup, minus a Tom Wilson, who has a 4-game suspension right now, who will be serving his second game tonight. And it also with the exception of a Nathan Walker who didn't play and a Christian Jews who didn't play as well. They were both scratches on opening night. Now, with that said, obviously it's going to take some time for those pieces to get together. We were both talking about this off air. Really around when you got to that halfway point of the game, you could see guys getting their grooves going. You could see the flow really getting to these guys and taking advantage of that flow. So,
well, there was a lot of turnovers, and they mentioned Craig and Joe B definitely several times early on mentions hey, this is a regular season. The speed, you saw how ramped up it was. You watched a preseason game, you watched your opening night games from Wednesday to last night. The speed is there because, like you mentioned, your full lineup is in for the first time. You don't have one scoring line and one Hershey scoring line for the Capitals concern and then have guys playing for roster spots in your bottom 6. That lineup opening night is going to be there for a while unless there's injuries or someone blows it up in the minor leagues that they have to have up. But with the Caps is concerned, the salary cap crunch is more prevalent than other teams, and it showed when they had to send probably their best defenseman of the preseason, Madison Bowie, down because he made $50,000 over the league minimum.
Right. And then going into this game, just to give everyone an idea, especially those who aren't Caps fans tuning in, the lineup for the Washington Capitals on Thursday against the Ottawa Senators was Andrei Burakovsky with Nicholas Backstrom and TJ Oshie, Alex Ovechkin with Evgeny Kuznetsov and Jacob Vrana, Brett Connolly with Lars Eller and Alex Chiasson, Tyler Graovac with Jay Beagle and Devontae Smith-Pelly. On defense, you had Dmitry Orlov with Matt Niskanen, Brooks Orpik with John Carlson, Aaron Ness with Taylor Chorney, and Braden Holtby in net. And to pay respects to the Ottawa Senators, we'll give you their lineup, which was Zach Smith with Kyle Turris and Mike Hoffman, Bobby Ryan with Derek Brassard and Mark Stone, Jean-Gabriel Pageau with Nate Thompson and Tom Pyatt, Ryan Dzingel with Logan Brown and Alexander Burrows. On defense, they had Johnny Oduya with Cody Ceci, Dion Phaneuf with Frederick Claesson, and Mark Barowecki with Chris Weidman with Craig Anderson in the net. And this one started off pretty quickly because Chris Weidman was actually able to get the first goal of the season at 6:25.
Yeah, it was. They got bottled up in the zone. John Carlson screened Braden Holtby. Holtby could have had that puck as well, but I mean, what do they always tell you to do? Just throw the puck in the net. That's what Chris Weidman did, and it found its way by Braden Holtby. You're going to have those periodically from time to time throughout the season. You just got to minimize that, especially running around in your own zone. You don't want to be screening your own goaltender. You want to be able to make sure that you're moving the guys out of the crease. But, I mean, Weidman with a good play, just throwing a puck in the net, because good things happen when that puck goes into the net, into that crease area. It either goes by the goalie or it'll hit a skate right onto someone else's stick. And Ottawa Senators were up to 1-0.
But then at 8:07, Brett Connolly would score the first Caps goal of the 2017-18 season, assisted by Lars Eller and Matt Niskanen. Really good pass from Lars Eller to Brett Connolly, who was in front of the net.
Yeah, it was. Great play by Niskanen at the point, keeping it in and getting that shot where, and like you mentioned, Lars Eller with a heady play. It was almost like an indirect kick in soccer where one player just tees it up for the other to just come in and house it into the back of the net, and sure enough, that's all Lars Eller did was a nice little tap, and Brett Connolly
tapped it in.
And Brett Connolly did the rest. Caddyshack 2 reference there.
No, actually, that was Happy Gilmore.
But also on.
Well, I was doing the Happy Gilmore version.
Absolutely.
So.
It was on the golf course, it was on the green, so it worked either way. But just getting that third line scoring early on, and Lars Eller, who's been phenomenal in the preseason on faceoffs, and his board work is second to none. You just need more on the score sheet from Lars Eller to make that even a better move than it already looked when they made it last year. So right. You get that goal to go into the intermission at 1-1. You start feeling, even though they didn't play their best period. I think they had 5 shots on goal in the first period. So,
yeah. I unfortunately don't have end of period stats
right.
because I was working the event, working at my job. So going into the second period, you had Mark Stone scoring at 6:52 from Derek Brassard, his first of the season. So the first goal of the game was scored at 6:25. The second goal was scored at 6:52. There's something about the numbers 6, 5, and 2 in this one.
Well,
for Ottawa,
this goal got the blood boiling already, and John Carlson, oh my goodness, the pass you made that led to that goal was irreprehensible. It was pretty much. I mean, they showed a replay where you could see Carlson practically could have skated it to the Ottawa blue line with no one but one. It was Stone to forward and 1D back. It could have gone 2-on-2 the other way, and at least gotten it into the zone and line change. Say he tried to make a perfect pass up the boards where Mark Stone's practically leaning that way, knowing that there's only one other guy up the ice for the Capitals at the time, turned around and tic-tac-toe, and Mark Stone doesn't usually miss in the slot area. So,
yeah. And that would be it for the second period in scoring. Then going into the third period, the fireworks would explode. Starting at 2:03, Ottawa Senator forward Derek Brassard would score his first of the season and his third point of the game because he already recorded 2 assists. And then I'm just going to run through these really quick. At 4:15, Alex Ovechkin would score his first of the season, assisted by Evgeny Kuznetsov. Then at 5:38, Alex Ovechkin would score his second of the season and second of the game, assisted by Kuznetsov and Jacob Vrana. Then at 6:55, Mark Stone would score his second of the game from Dion Phaneuf and Chris Weidman. And then Aaron Ness would take a slashing penalty at 8:04, which then at 10:48, Alex Ovechkin would record the hat trick from Evgeny Kuznetsov, who would get the hat trick and assist, and the second assist for Jacob Vrana.
Yeah,
that's just like I said, the fireworks were exploding.
Well, I mean, and you could have given John Carlson an assist on the Mark Stone goal in the second period. You could give Matt Niskanen an assist on the Derek Brassard goal. Another heinous turnover in your own end. Carlson and Niskanen, for as well as they play, at times make some of the most boneheaded passes in their own end, and sure enough, it bit them in the butt again, made it 3-1. But then the Alex Ovechkin show started, especially the second goal he scored. The play at the blue line, poke checking it to Vrana, and then tic-tac-toe, Vrana to Kuznetsov to Ovechkin with a yawning 4x6. Craig Anderson had no chance at that one. But you could see the Alex Ovechkin, rumors of his demise are greatly exaggerated. When you have a wrist shot like he does, and you saw that on the first goal and on the third goal, you're still going to put pucks in the net in this league. And I've said it all preseason. The last time he had 32 goals, he came back with a 50-goal season. I'm putting my neck out in line saying there's going to be another 50-goal season in Alexander Ovechkin's future before he went on the hat-trick spree on Wednesday night. And a lot of it's going to have to do with Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Just to let you know, right now, Brett Connolly is on pace for 82 goals.
Absolutely.
And Alex Ovechkin is on pace for 246.
A lot more than that. Exactly.
So, if you take everything, you go, oh, well, if he does this every night, this is how many goals he's going to score. He's not going to score 246.
No. Yager came out and said that McDavid was going to score 100 at one point in the year, and the way he skates, it might be possible. But you know what? The mark is still 92, and no one's hit 60 since Ovi did. So,
yeah. Okay. But going into the shootout, because we are going to have to go to a break soon. Is that Rick? Okay. We're going to go to they went to the shootout after overtime. What you had is that Bobby Ryan would score the first goal for Ottawa, but then Alex Ovechkin would tie it up, and then Evgeny Kuznetsov would score the game-winning goal in the shootout. The Caps would win 5-4. Shots were 28-32 in favor of Ottawa. Faceoffs were 31-27 in favor of the Capitals. Hits were 28-25 in favor of Ottawa. And on the power play, the Capitals were 0 for 1, and Ottawa was 0 for 5. But we'll talk about those stats a little later. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to break. When we come back, we are going to be joined by Rick from the CSA shows.
Looking for some pre-Thanksgiving fun? Then look no further than to DerpyCon. DerpyCon, which is taking place at the Hyatt Regency Morristown in Morristown, New Jersey from November 17th to 19th. Come see special guests like David Yost, Walter Jones, Todd Havercorn, and so many more. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit DerpyCon.com today. Attention hockey fans, the Experience Hockey Talk is on Patreon. Come join the exclusive Txht community today for access to exclusive episodes, interviews, and so much more. You can join the TXHT Patreon community at patreon.com/TXHT_hockey.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. And ladies and gentlemen, we are about to be joined by Rick from the CSA shows, which is featuring Brandon Quinton Adams, who played Jesse Hall, Matt Daugherty, who played Les Averman, Vincent LaRusso, who played Adam Banks in the Mighty Ducks movies. On Sunday only, you'll have Alex Ovechkin, Marcel Dion, Brian Tracci, Ed Jacquemin, Brett Hall, and one other person that we're about to announce a little bit later in this segment. you can win 2 weekend passes to the CSA show on October 13th through 15th. All you have to do is email Donald at Blake4AV@AOL.com. That is Blake, the number 4AV@AOL.com to win a chance at 2 weekend passes to the CSA show next weekend. And joining us now is Rick from CSA. Rick, thank you for coming on to the Experience Hockey Talk. Welcome.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. We're real excited about our show next weekend at the Dallas Expo Center.
Now, real quick, why don't you give people a little history on the CSA show? How did it get started and how it grew to what it is today?
Oh, absolutely. So we've been in this building, the Dallas Expo Center, for 20 years. This is our 20th year. We do 3 shows a year. But the company was actually started back in the 70s by Marco Rawl. He was a card dealer who would go around to little card events at VFW halls and hotel ballrooms, and he got an idea that he should promote his own show and bring in some athletes to get more people to come. So he started that in the 70s, and it just grew. He was one of the first people to do mail order and to bring athletes in. So it's been exciting. It's definitely grown from the 70s, and as you know, I think we have almost 80 guests at this show. Football, basketball, we've got actors, we've got hockey, baseball players, and we have a lot of vendors that come to the show as well. Over 300 tables. We have memorabilia guys, we have guys that sell cars, we have auction houses there that are there to take customers' items, sell them for them. We have authentication companies which can authenticate autographs, and a lot more.
It definitely, you definitely offer a little bit of everything for the collector, Rick, and just seeing the lineup that you guys always put out there for these CSA shows. I mean, I think it was last show you had almost the entire 2017 Hall of Fame class that went into Canton in August. I know Joe Montana's making a return trip this year. You also notice you always steer it toward, you had a lot of Dallas Cowboys one show. There's a lot of Cowboy fans and Steeler fans and, of course, Redskin fans, especially with always having the 3 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks from the Redskins, but also with the hockey, being able to bring in a Hall of Famer like a Marcel Dion, to bring in a Brett Hull. It definitely gives all 4 major sports fans a pick of who and where to go on this wondrous weekend.
Yeah, we're excited, and I did hear you mention you were going to announce our surprise guest that probably the one we added yesterday, and I think when you do announce that, you should definitely give away an autograph with him to some lucky listener out there. And we did get him last minute. We're excited. I don't know. Did he play? Has he played?
He is making his. Why don't we do the announcement now?
Go for it.
Make the announcement now because we're just going to spoil it for everybody.
I think you already did.
So he is making his debut tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Joining the CSA show next. He'll be there Sunday, correct?
That is correct. From 2 to 3 o'clock.
It will be Nathan Walker of the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, excited. First ever Australian-born professional hockey player, I think, right? Is that true?
Yes.
Yep.
Very first.
Yeah.
Hopefully have plenty of
Let's definitely give away an autograph with him. You can bring your item in, or you can purchase one at the show. A hockey puck, a stick, a jersey. We'll have photos as well, but exciting young player coming to the Caps for sure.
Absolutely. Hopefully have plenty of fluids for them because they'll be playing back-to-back nights coming into the CSA show there on Sunday. So hopefully they'll be coming in with 2 division victories off of that weekend to be in great spirits to meet all the great fans at the Dallas Expo Center there on Sunday. Is there anything people actually need to know going down to the Dallas Expo Center with parking or anything like that might catch them off guard, just to be so they're fully prepared when they come down? You laid out the the layout of how everything works with the show. Is there anything else that they might need to know coming down there?
Sure. So there's definitely plenty of parking. The parking is free. It's very easy to get to. It's near the Dulles Airport. There's lots of signs when you're coming in off of Route 28 or Route 50. Tickets are available in advance. They can be ordered online up until Monday, or you can purchase all of the tickets at the show. There is an admission fee to get in. Friday is $5, Saturday is $10, Sunday is $10, or you can get a weekend pass for $20. And like I said, all the tickets are available. We have product, everything from full-size helmets, footballs, basketballs, hockey pucks, pictures, and the vendors at the show will sell just about everything you need. We do say that you check our Facebook or our website. It's for the times and to make sure there's no time changes. Sometimes the guests will miss a flight or a flight is late, so we'll change the time. So just check that before you come. And also, it's 100% money back guarantee. If you buy a ticket and a guest can't make it, or you can't make it for whatever reason, it's a 100% money back guarantee. So.
Yeah, also piggybacking off that, Rick, I think I saw that David Ortiz, I forget who else, had to cancel out last minute due to their playoff.
Hernandez and David Ortiz,
yeah.
Unfortunately, they both got offered jobs by Fox Sports to broadcast the playoffs. We worked so hard to try to get them to switch their dates, but it just wouldn't work. So the good news is I'm 90% certain we're going to get those two guys back at our April show at the Expo Center. So those are the breaks. These guys are busy. Cancellations, they happen. Everybody who did buy a ticket gets a full refund, or you can exchange it for someone else. So, and we'll work hard on getting those guys to come back.
Now, talking about guys canceling, how do you make the decisions on who to bring into a show and like what show you want to bring them to? Because you mentioned that you do 3 shows. You do a fall show, a spring show, and a summer show. Like, what helps you make the decisions on who you want to bring into each show?
Well, it's an interesting process. So October tends to be the hardest because you have playoffs. Hockey's just starting. Basketball's getting fired up. So October, we usually don't have any current players. We're lucky that we do have a few caps because their schedule worked out. Our April show is usually the one that's chock full of the most current guys. We can just get them because their season hasn't started. It's the end of the season. And the same with July. And we constantly have offers out to, hundreds of players, and just seeing what their schedule works with our event. And once we kind of start building it, we start to see a theme come in. Maybe we get a few Cowboys players, and we kind of go after more and try to build some type of theme. And we try to keep every show well-rounded so that everyone will, have somebody they can come see. I know that the Mighty Ducks, that reunion, the guy who was bringing them in was working on that for over a year. So, bringing in, what is there? There's 3 guys.
Yeah, you have the actors who played.
It takes a lot of coordinating and getting everybody's schedule right. So.
Yeah, you have the actors Brandon Quinton Adams, who played Jesse Hall, Matt Daugherty, who played Les Averman, and Vincent LaRusso, who played Adam Banks in the Mighty Ducks movies. I'm not going to lie, the moment I saw them, I got really, really excited, especially the fact that I actually do have a D5 Ducks jersey at home.
Oh, nice.
That I will be wearing on the show next Saturday and then right to CSA that day.
Excellent.
So I will be wearing my D5 Ducks jersey. Now you know how to find me.
We're excited. We forgot to mention all the wrestlers that are coming in the forward area.
Oh, yeah, you got like 10 of them.
And I know that Play Ball Inc. worked hard on bringing those guys in, so that'll be exciting as well.
Yeah, you got like 10 wrestlers. I know like you have like Ron Simmons, the Rock and Roll Express.
Wow, that would have been a coupon. I think Mr. 300 just fell off his couch.
I don't even think Nick's watching the show right now, but
Goodness.
But you have like Tommy Dreamer, the Sandman. You have a lot of ECW legends, a few WWE Hall of Famers, and when we saw that, obviously Bernie and I both work with MCW Pro Wrestling, and that was the big thing that we were promoting when we're at our own convention and live event last Saturday.
Nice.
So,
A lot of first-class individuals you're bringing in there. Ron Simmons is as class an act as you're going to get. So you definitely landed a coup with all those great talents. But definitely with all that, with all the CSA and everything, definitely I know you'd mentioned about availabilities and trying to fit schedules and all that. I remember working with the Bobby Mitchell Golf Classic for several years, and it was interesting how your show weekends always coincide with that golf tournament, so it almost worked it hand in hand that you were able to get the Hall of Famers to come out and do the autograph sessions between the golf around the golf tournament, which was a nice weekend for the legends to make a nice little spot of change. But definitely,
yeah, that was a wonderful arrangement for us for many years, and it worked good for Bobby too. So.
Absolutely, but definitely appreciate everything you guys do down there in Dulles, and I look forward to hearing about another fantastic show next weekend.
yes. And ladies and gentlemen, real quick, as you mentioned, you got Jesse Hall, Les Averman, Adam Banks from the Mighty Ducks movies. You got Alex Ovechkin, and then now newly announced Nathan Walker, along with Hockey Hall of Famers Marcel Dion, Brian Trottier, Ed Jockman, and Brett Hall, all going to be at the CSA show next weekend. You can email Donald at blake4av@aol.com for a chance to win 2 weekend passes to the CSA show. Again, that is Blake, the number 4av@aol.com for a chance to win 2 weekend passes. And Rick, I believe you said that, we're adding in a Nathan Walker autograph on that?
Absolutely, yep. I guess you can just email Donald or contact you guys however you want to work it, and we'll go from there.
So you heard it from Rick himself. Anybody who enters today, they can win a Nathan Walker autograph next weekend. Can't go wrong with that.
Nice bonus, that's for sure.
All right. Well, if Rick, I'm going to let you have a last word. What can you tell the people that will make them want to come to the CSA show next weekend? You already sold me on the Mighty Duck actors. You don't need to tell me more.
Yeah, I don't know. Who am I excited about? It's just I get excited about so many of these athletes. One person who I've heard is really neat and great to meet is Elena Della Donna. She plays in the WNBA for the Washington team there. Excited about her, and some of the older Hall of Famers. Sonny Jurgensen, he's great to have at the show. Lenny Moore. I mean, this is old guys who have good stories, and looking forward to everything, and all of our great customers and loyal customers and guys like you come to the show. So it's a family-friendly event. Looking forward to nice weather and lots of fun. So we hope to see everyone there.
All right. Well, Rick, thank you so much. I will shoot you a text message after the show, and it's over, to talk about next weekend for TXHT. And with that, we'll talk to you soon, sir.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Rick.
All right. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Looking for some pre-Thanksgiving fun, then look no further than to DerbyCon. DerbyCon, which is taking place at the Hyatt Regency Morristown in Morristown, New Jersey from November 17th to 19th. Come see special guests like David Yost, Walter Jones, Todd Havercorn, and so many more.
Oh, by the way,
information
CJ
and purchase
from,
tickets, visit derbycon.com.
Hold on, give me a sec. CJ from MCW says hi.
CJB, I'll give him a big shout out.
What's the time? Didn't you consider it to be that short? It's okay. That gives us more time to talk about some other stuff.
The experience hockey
Because we want to talk about Vegas, we want to talk about the NWHL deal, stuff like that. So, I mean, this actually works. We gave him like a good almost 15 minutes.
You can join the TXHT.
Like, if we had George, we'd have George on for like almost 20 minutes.
Because we can go just a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Actually, we're supposed to have a promoter for the Mighty Duck actors. But they didn't respond in time, so we got Rick instead. But hey, I like Rick. Rick is a good guy. I've met him.
Yeah, his last name
I didn't want to mispronounce it by accident. I didn't feel like a jackass.
Broken bodies.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Experience Hockey Talk, Serious Hockey Talk for serious hockey fans. We want to thank the bands Crimson Orchard and Eyeshine for the music that you hear on this show. And of course, a shout out again to Rick from CSA. Ladies and gentlemen, you can now win a Nathan Walker autograph along with 2 weekend passes to a CSA show next weekend. All you have to do is email Donald at Blake4AV@AOL.com. That is Blake, the number 4AV@AOL.com for a chance to win those 2 weekend passes, and one lucky fan will get a Nathan Walker autograph.
The Thunder from Down Under making his NHL debut tonight is going to be an amazing event, to say the least. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say he scores a goal tonight. I just have that feeling with everything around and the way he did this preseason. I think he dents the 20 tonight. But I always like to thank Lionel Green for giving us this platform out here at WBGR Radio. Hey, the number's in behind us every week. Give us a call. We'd like to talk hockey with you. And special shout out to a good friend, CJ Burney, very funny comedian. If you see him on the marquee anywhere on the East Coast, give him a look. I think him and Lavelle Crawford are out there tickling people's funny bones right now. And, of course, we lost a couple great comedians in the last couple weeks in Damon Rozier and Ralphie May. So, guys, with all this craziness in the world right now, if you find a person that can make you laugh for a couple hours, go out, support them. You know, it's a good time for a great cause, and you can leave happy. And speaking of leaving happy, tonight, Capital One Arena,
the Cap Center.
We want to leave happy tonight against the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, before we get to that, we got a couple things we need to talk about. And actually, we're going to hop over to some NWHL stuff real quick, because a major announcement was made the other day, and I got to sit in the press conference on this. Ladies and gentlemen, the New Jersey Devils is entering a first-of-its-kind of agreement and formed a multi-year partnership with the NWHL's now known as Metro Riveters. This 3-year deal will start off this season and will go to the end of the 1919-20 season, or 2019-20. Wow, this is the day for gaffes. That's the second or third gaff we've made today, or I've made today.
We'll just say 3 years and go with it.
Yeah, it's going to be 3 years. But on October 28th, the Riveters season opener against the Boston Pride, which will be at 1:30 p.m., will then be followed by the New Jersey Devils hosting the Arizona Coyotes at 7 p.m. Although there's an interesting thing, they could potentially bump up the time of the Devils game. Because I heard grumbles that apparently, because of Nico Heisshire and the time difference between him and his home country in New Jersey, that an earlier start time would be a prime time slot in his home country, and that will become a big deal, especially for Devils in international markets.
Well, I think if they're going to do something like that, they'd do it on his NHL debut or something to that ilk. But I know I read part of the agreement is Devil season ticket holders are going to have admission to the game, and also people that follow the Metropolitan Riveters are going to be able to have a chance, if they're not a season ticket holder, to get good tickets to those games. I think there's several packages there, so it's a really good. And didn't we mention just something in our wonderful interview with Ani a couple weeks ago about the NHL teams and the NWHL teams maybe getting together on something similar to this?
Yeah. And actually a couple of highlights of the partnership as part of the Riveters rebranding, which will name them now the Metro Riveters to reflect its partnership with the New Jersey's NHL team. They will adopt the Devils' colors going into this season. A new uniform will be unveiled prior to the start of the regular season. The Devils and Riveters will collaborate in the development of girls and women's hockey programs, with Riveters players providing coaching and instruction along with other community projects. Select Riveters games will be featured on the One Jersey Network on NewJerseyDevils.com, the digital network of the New Jersey Devils. The Devils are sharing extensive infrastructure with the Riveters, from the team's arena, practice facility, and training areas to support and sponsorship, sales, and marketing. And the partnership also includes marketing and cross-promotion on digital and social media channels, and and on-game broadcast, bringing added visibility to the Riveters, NWHL, and women's hockey. So you're getting a lot out of this deal for the NWHL.
Absolutely. Hey, Buffalo. Hey, Boston. You're next. And you guys, I think Boston already has the colors, so you don't have to worry about switching colors on their jerseys. But Buffalo and Boston would be very apt to do that as well, especially with the mediums that the New England area has. And, of course, Buffalo, like we talked about in previous weeks when we talked to NWHL about how that whole city, that whole area that they've revitalized in downtown Buffalo, it'd be great to have the Buttes and the Sabres.
The Buttes actually uses the Buttes.
Yep.
Dixon, why am I doing that? The Buttes already share the practice facility of the Buffalo Sabres, just like how the Boston Pride shares the practice facility of the Boston Bruins. So you would think that those two, especially with the fact that last season was actually Boston's first year at that arena or at that venue, whereas Buffalo has been at the Buffalo Sabres practice facility, the Harbor Center, since day one. So you would think that there would be a little bit, especially the fact that actually the Washington Capitals were the first NHLers to actually show up at an NWHL game, which was in Buffalo. It was a Buttes game. That they actually, like Ovechkin and Tom Wilson and a few others, were sitting in the crowd watching the game. Tom Wilson even tweeted about watching them play, and that was the inaugural season.
That's good. It's always good to see when teams. And it's crazy. I mean, I saw a lot of pictures last night of Montreal Canadiens being at the Nats game with Carl Alsner and Tom Wilson hanging out together. But to your point, with being able to have that NHL support, where hey, if you have a day off and the NWHL is playing, I mean, it's great to have those marquee name, the Alex Ovechkin marquee name. Say Pittsburgh's in town to play the Boston Bruins, and they have a day off, and the Pride's playing. Great, just Sidney Crosby just waltz on in and watch and be there for the NWHL game. I think with the layout now that the Riveters and the Devils have put out there, it could only just snowball into getting these other teams on board, and then hopefully down the road, as you mentioned to me off air, a couple of great questions you had in one of their press conferences.
Yeah, I sat in on a press conference. I sat in the press conference for this announcement the other day when it was made. And I sat in a press conference about a week or two ago, which we got to talk with Danny Ryland, who is the commissioner of the league, and Haley Moore, who is the deputy commissioner of the league. And we got to ask them questions. And I asked, because we have Haley Skarupa, who's from the D.C. metropolitan area. You got Kenzie Kent, who our good friend Donald from CSA shows, Just Hockey Cards. He knows her through family. She has DC ties. We have players that we can root for in the National Women's Hockey League because of that. And so one of the questions, and then not only that, but on Thanksgiving weekend at Kettler will be a D1 women's college hockey tournament. And it's going to feature Boston University, Wisconsin, and two other teams.
That would be awesome.
So I asked them about that, and they said, they do pay a major attention to those tournaments. The area in Washington, D.C. is, in fact, on the short list to host an NWHL game or be an expansion franchise. And I can say this right now, you get the Capitals along with that, you get Courtney Loughlin involved, this thing could be huge for the NWHL, especially here in the D.C. area.
Especially with Monumental Network partnering with the Capitals, with the Wizards, with the Mystics, with the two arena football teams in Washington and Baltimore. The medium is there to make it the NWHL team in D.C. And the ladies that you mentioned, they always, with expansion, they always try to make sure there are a couple local ties on the team. And depending on how contracts will work out, Kenzie Kent is a free agent at that point when they make the announcement. I can only imagine that she'll be probably one of the first members of the new Washington franchise.
And of course, Haley Skarupa will be playing for the Boston Pride this season. And Kenzie Kent is back in Boston College this year. She is fulfilling, I believe, her senior year of college. And then she is free to sign with the Boston Pride, who drafted her with the 5th overall pick.
Absolutely. So NWHL making some huge news. Nothing from Chocolatetown because they don't play till tonight. So Lehigh Valley is the opponent. So we will have a little quip about them starting next week. So minor league teams are starting to go now that the NHL starts rolling and everybody starts playing. Then there's hockey everywhere. Go out and find some and watch it.
And of course, October 28th is when the NWHL regular season begins. I believe in a week or two they will start their preseason. And I do believe there is like a Russian Summit series that they're going to be doing. It's either Russian or Chinese. I believe it's Russian Summit series. I got to go back and look at my notes. I don't have those notes in front of me right now. But
that'll be a great way to start the NWHL season with that partnership
with the New Jersey Devils right there.
Great way to start this season.
Let's take a look at some games that took place this week. We already mentioned that Connor McDavid had a hat trick first night. Wayne Simmons had a hat trick first night. Alex Ovechkin had a hat trick second night, and Brandon Saad had a hat trick second night. 4 hat tricks 2 nights, like great way to start hockey. One thing that we also have to talk about, Brandon Saad, he did have that hat trick, and what one would call a shellacking of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Oh yes, I know the DC area is very happy about that one.
Yeah, here's the thing is, the Chicago Blackhawks were able to do in 9 minutes and 16 seconds on Thursday night that they couldn't do in 256 minutes in the playoffs. Score 4 goals. So Brandon Saad being back in Chicago, and we got the last night's game, and Artemi Panarin had 3 assists for Columbus. So both teams are benefiting from that blockbuster trade that happened in the offseason. But getting Brandon Saad back with Chicago Blackhawks, Schmaltz a year older. I mean, you have Patrick Sharp back in the fold, and a great moment before that game when Brian Bickle signed a 1-day contract to be a member of the Chicago Blackhawks and be able to be out there in his familiar number 29 one more time with his comrades that he won a cup with.
Not just one, but 2.
A cup or 2, yes.
He won 2.
So, but definitely a great moment there. A lot of great moments. If you want to know what the heartbeat of hockey is, some of the videos that came out from first days. If you want to hit search engine 21st Duck and have a box of tissues next to you, because that one hits home. A 17-year-old gal, 3 times diagnosed with cancer, and keeps fighting and fighting and fighting. Has developed a really good relationship with Ricard Raquel, and ironically enough, he scored the game-winning goal in that game. And it's just one of those things where the story was written, and the story had a great ending. So it was tremendous, and that just makes why we're so passionate about hockey, is the stories, the moments. I mean, you see that 10-1 game, but also the moments that go on before and after the game, like we talked about earlier with the Brian Murray moments and everything. I heard they had a nice video in the second period.
And Sidney Crosby crying.
I'll take the high road on that, because we see those boys on Wednesday night.
Let's be brutally honest. When it comes,
brutally honest, yes.
The whole slashing penalty, the enforcement that should have been there in the beginning, is because of what Sidney Crosby did to Mark Methot last season. I mean, Mark Methot is kind of still missing part of his finger because of Sidney Crosby, and then yet Sidney Crosby just slashes Alex Pietrangelo in the back of the legs out of frustration. It doesn't get called for it. So
I just want on a global aspect is, if you're going to be all trumpeting, enforcing the rules, enforcing the slashes, enforcing the hooks, to give the players the chance to to have that offense in the game. It was absurd that the Capitals only got too many men on the ice power play Thursday night, and that one they had to be screaming at the top of their lungs at the linesmen and the referees to make that call, and the 6th guy just skated right off the ice in front of the linesman as the guy that replaced him touched the puck. Frederic Leclerc, I've said this on the show, I've said this off the air, is horrendous. He makes me want to vomit when he's refereeing someone else's game, not even a Capitals game. He has no business being in the NHL, no business being a referee in this league. There's few guys that I'll say that about, and that's one of them. And I have a very long list of friends and fans that are in that camp. So definitely not a very strong start by the officiating.
Well, let's look at the
games
penalties.
were good.
Let's look at the penalties the Cavs were called on Thursday night. Eller got called for slashing.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Ness got called for holding. Tyler Grauvac got called for tripping. The Ottawa penalty for too many men. Aaron Ness for slashing. And Evgeny Kuznetsov for holding.
And that one in overtime, yes, Evgeny Kuznetsov had an armbar on Mark Stone, but that wouldn't have happened if Mark Stone didn't take both of his hands and pull himself around Evgeny Kuznetsov to put himself in that position. You take them both off. It should have been holding on Stone and holding on Kuznetsov. You remain 3-on-3. You have to call the rule book from the moment they drop the puck to that final whistle.
Yep.
All I'm asking is consistency. The Capitals aren't choir boys. They're going to take 6-7 penalties a game often. But when John Carlson gets tripped up in the corner and the referee's just staring at it, I got a serious problem with it. I just want the game called. You know, if it's going to be the first month where there's going to be 8 power plays aside so these guys learn how the games are being called, fine. It's going to benefit the scoreboard. I just want the games called properly so when we get to April and May, we have that free-flowing, beautiful game that we love, hockey, in the finest form in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
And then, of course, on the first game for Toronto, Leo Komarov was the victim of his own doing, whether he disagreed with it or not. With the visor rule, as everyone knows, he always wore his visor up, like above here, where it's not covering the eyes. Because when you get grandfathered in, you know, or when the visor got put into mandatory status and certain players got grandfathered, Leo Komarov was not one of the grandfathered players because he was not in the league long enough to warrant him to not have to wear the visor. Obviously, the league took issue with the fact that if you're going to wear the visor, you're going to wear it correctly, which means you have to wear it fully over the eyes. And like, I wear my visor correctly. I don't have it like cocked up or anything like that, all weird and stuff like that, because your safety is important. I mean, we look at what happened to guys like Brian Berard. You know, when he took that slap shot to the eye, or the stick to the eye, you know, that's the reason why. You know, Chris Pronger essentially had his career ended because he took a stick to the eye, and it had another concussion as a result. So you got to put the safety in hand. Leo Komarov, obviously the victim of the penalty, but at his own doing at the same time too.
Visor victim, number one. But that game was insane. The first 15 minutes, and it's great to have free center ice for the first couple weeks to be able to watch games that you want without having to foot the bill for it, and to be able to watch that Toronto-Winnipeg game. Winnipeg threw everything in the kitchen sink in the first 15 minutes. They had 3 power plays, and they had one that spilled over to the second period. And Frederick Anderson was standing on his head with 10-plus saves, and then all of a sudden, 3.5 minutes later, Toronto's up 3-0. It was just like in a blink of an eye. That team, and adding Patrick Marleau, who had 2 goals in his Toronto debut, there was a lot of guys that had very good debuts in new uniforms these first couple days, as well as rookies making their NHL debuts. The Charlie McAvoys, the Jake DeBrusk, the Pierre-Luc Dubois, who, oh, by the way, was drafted 3rd in that wonderful draft Connor McDavid came out in. So there's a lot of talent coming into the NHL, and there's a lot of talent in new uniforms that are making instant dividends for their new teams.
And then let's talk about what happened last night, because, ladies and gentlemen, history was made. The Vegas Golden Knights, in their first ever game, won 2-1 over the Dallas Stars. And James Neal had some really good goals.
First off, again, with hockey, it's a brotherhood, and they're united. And to see both teams standing on the same blue line for the tributes to Vegas, to Dave Strader, and for the anthem was something that was awesome, and that's a gross understatement. And we're all thinking of all the families that were affected by the heinous acts in Las Vegas, and we also send our sympathies out there as well. And just seeing the whole hockey world, as well as other sports world, being united on this. I mean, we have one kick at the can of this thing called life, to be having it taken away from us by some crazed lunatic is something that I just can't stomach. And to see the NHL Brotherhood be there as one, and for the Vegas Golden Knights to get out in the community over the past week, it was actually a blessing that they didn't have their first game till Friday. They were able to get out in the community and be at the blood drives, to be there for the first responders, and be able to be a blessing to that community in more ways than they already have when they got their franchise announced. And for the game, Marc-Andre Fleury, franchise goaltender, like we said, 45 saves, and a lot of them were of the acrobatic kind. And to your point with Ben Bishop getting plunked with a slap shot to the mask, knocked him out of the game, and Kerry Lettinen came in, and the story was written for another magical ending.
And real quick, our good friend Donald, who you can email at blake4av@aol.com to win 2 weekend passes to the CSA show next weekend, and for a Nathan Walker autograph. NHLshop.com is selling a Vegas Strong shirt with 100% of the proceeds going to charity.
Awesome.
But, you look at the James Neal goals. It's like, if Ben Bishop didn't get injured and Kerry Lettinen didn't have to go in net, it would be 1-0 Dallas. Or potentially 2-0 if they got an empty net goal. But a bad turnover by Mark Mathot. Nate Schmidt gets the puck off of a does a very nice, simple pass to James Neal, wrist shot between the legs. We got a 1-1 game. Then, while on his knees, falling onto his belly, scores the game-winning goal.
Yep, assisted by another guy with Capitals ties, Cody Eakin.
Yep.
And definitely just a little simple play by Spiza getting it to Schmidt, and Schmidt getting it to James Neal for the tie goal. And it's just the way Gerard Gallant coaches. It's simple hockey. I mean, you saw it in Florida. He had a bunch of young guys that were trying to learn how to play in the NHL. This is a little bit of a different dichotomy. You have a bunch of young guys, but you have a bunch of guys that have been drafted together to form this team. And how do you make things a lot easier on yourself? You bring in a Marc-Andre Fleury to be between the pipes, and a great move, I think, bringing in a Malcolm Subban off of waivers from Boston, and they traded
Calvin Pickard yesterday for a draft pick and Tobias Lindbergh.
So another young piece to put into their farm system in Chicago, but to have that wherewithal to be able to build from the goalie out and still be able to add a prolific 30-goal scorer in James Neal just makes that transition into the NHL that much smoother, and the first team to win their expansion game since the Ottawa Senators 2.0 came into the league.
In 1992, so that was 25 years.
Yes.
All right, well, we got 5 minutes left in the show, so I guess we could talk about what's coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, obviously, the home opener against the Montreal Canadiens at the Cap Center. I'm not calling it Capital One Arena. It's the Cap Center to me. It's just so much easier to say. And
the Vault.
yeah, we're going back to the Vault. It's now the Cap Center, damn it.
The Vault de Capitale.
Yeah, but, so the home opener is tonight. Carl Alsner comes back to Washington as a member of the Montreal Canadiens. Nathan Walker is making his NHL debut. The place is going to explode, and Txht will be there. Dixon and I will be at the game. We'll be sitting in section 421. We'll be filming throughout the entire night, which that will be put up on our Patreon page, patreon.com/TXHT_hockey. That will be posted on Monday. So lots to look forward to tonight. We're going to try to film some stuff on that red carpet. We're going to...
Yep, the red carpet starts at 3 o'clock. I think NBC Sports Washington is doing a Facebook Live as well. So there's plenty of coverage of Caps hockey starting at 3 o'clock for all those. Get down there early. I know a lot of Nats fans are going to be heading down to the baseball game at 5:30 as well. So the Metro is going to be humming with a lot of red between two venues, so support your teams today. I mean, hopefully we have a sellout crowd rocking the red tonight at the Vault and also at Nats Park, as we can hope for a 2-win deal tonight.
Yeah, and then of course, if you see Dixon and I at the game tonight,
run. That was so there, I had to go there.
I know, you had to. No, that's perfectly fine.
Run.
Come to us, talk to us. Maybe we'll even put you on our little Patreon exclusive episode that will be posted on Monday. We want to meet the people. We want to help, grow this show. Because we know that there are people who do listen to this show every week. And that, we'd like to meet those people who support the show. It'd be really cool. And, if you see Dixon, definitely run the other way. Because I actually shaved and he has this shaggy looking beard. Something does not look right with that man. But also, real quick, going into the CSA show next week, Donald has just informed me that 100% of his Vegas night card sales at Chantilly will all be donated to Vegas charities.
Donald, class act as always, brother.
Yep.
Class act.
So, we have a lot. Tonight's going to be fun. We got a game Monday. We got the Penguins on Wednesday. We'll be breaking those games down on Saturday next week.
It's a full menu. You got Canadians, you got Lightning, you got Penguins, you got Devils, and then we'll be coming on right before they go make their jaunt to Philadelphia for the Flyers' home debut after their West Coast trip.
Yep, and then, of course, next week we'll have George Fusikis back from Nova Caps. He'll be back on the show next week. What a perfect time. Get him in after we get a full week of hockey. We'll have a week and a half of hockey, and I think that'll be a perfect time to get George and get his thoughts on everything. So, ladies and gentlemen...
His Canucks haven't played yet, so it's perfect timing for him.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, at the CSA show next week, you can meet the actors who played Jesse Hull, Les Averman, and Adam Banks in the Mighty Ducks movies, Alex Ovechkin and Nathan Walker of the Washington Capitals, plus Hockey Hall of Famers Marcel Dion, Brian Trottier, Ed Jockman, and Brett Hall at the CSA show. All you have to do is email Donald at Blake4AV@AOL.com for a chance to win 2 weekend passes to the CSA show. And for today only, one person will get an autograph from Nathan Walker for free. So that is Blake4AV@AOL.com. Blake, 4AV@AOL.com for the chance to win those 2 weekend passes and the Nathan Walker autograph. And ladies and gentlemen, of course, you can join our Patreon community. Go to patreon.com/TXHT_hockey. We already got our first ever Patreon exclusive episode up. That is up now for those who are part of our community to actually view, and then we'll have the one that we'll be recording tonight up on Monday for all who are part of our community to see as well. And of course, this episode will also be posted up on our Patreon page for all to see as well in the next couple hours. So
get out there. Like I said, there's 15 games on the NHL schedule tonight, and the Caps hosting the Montreal Canadiens. So hopefully they can take advantage of what they learned from the Ottawa, get some of the mistakes out of their system. And like I said, hopefully Nathan Walker is talking about his first NHL goal.
All right.
Next Sunday.
And with that, we will see you on the ice.
Attention hockey fans looking for serious hockey talk? Then listen to the Experience Hockey Talk every Saturday at 11 a.m. on the WBGR Sports Network. Join Michael and Bernie as they look back in the past week for the Washington Capitals, the NHL, NWHL, and so much more. For more information, visit facebook.com/TXHThockey or patreon.com/TXHT_hockey.